Renaissance festivals. It's the season. It's the season for Renaissance festivals and fairs again. And I was just up at the Utah Ren Fest, the one in Ogden, properly Marriott Slaterville. Good grief. To get to the fairgrounds, it's an ordeal. I almost prefer doing it riding my bike and getting on the train, and then riding my bike from the train station to the fairgrounds. It's a 2-mile ride, and it goes past the river and goes through some kind of quiet neighborhoods, and it's not a bad ride. It's kind of annoying to have to carry all my musical instruments in a big old army duffel bag on my back, and that means I can't carry all the instruments that I would like to use. So driving there, the thing is, you have to get there on time, because you have to get there early because the parking lots fill up, and you have to drive through along this narrow street that's, this year it's under construction, and railroad tracks cross it at 2 points, and the trains like to perversely stop when you're trying to get there or when you're trying to get out, unpredictably, as happened last Saturday. I had to wait, a long line of cars had to wait for a train to get out for some time. So it's something I've been doing now every May since 2022. So yeah, this is my fifth May going to that and performing at that fair, that festival. And on Saturday, I was reminded because of somebody. There's somebody there that there's a dear old lady who I love, who has a chapel, a little chapel that she put together, and a little wagon, a couple little wagons. She's got like a Vardo, another sort of mini wagon. It's kind of like that. Anyway, she's a sweetheart, and I like to go hang out in front of her chapel and play in between my stage performances. And she was teasing me on Saturday that I just couldn't take a break. Like, I go, and consistently after the whole event is done, and I'm home, and it's done for the year, I kind of think back and realize I didn't really walk around and explore very much. Part of it is that so much of it is vendors. I mean, there are things you can stop and see the horses. You can go look at the blacksmiths, watch them ply their trade. That's delightful. I think the other fair has moved around a lot, has a bit more like practical craft demonstrations, which are really a delight. But so much of what goes on besides jousting and fighting is vendors, and so it's probably a place where a lot of credit debt, consumer debt gets racked up. I am going to guess that a lot of the spending that goes on there is on credit cards. Because think about the people that frequent these things. I don't have a lot of confidence in a lot of the fairgoers to be in the high earning classes. I'm going to be a bit harsh about this whole social phenomenon. First, what I was saying, and why I keep going. I go there and it's like I get in the zone. I am just playing music constantly. I get on the stage and I do my set, and then I go somewhere else and find somewhere to play, and that's all I want to do. It's like I could go all day. I'm kind of morose when it's time to leave and come home because I have to stop, and I just want to keep on playing my instruments and singing my songs. That's what I really, really love doing. And time just goes by when I'm doing that, and the days just fly by because I'm doing something that I really love. So that's why I keep going. And there's enough of the hope of trying to keep on getting something that I'm looking for. But there's things about these events that frustrate me and disappoint me and sadden me. And the biggest part of it, or maybe the most to the point way of getting at the root of talking about it, is the way that people put on their performances, the way that people act at these things. The deep insecurity that shows in a lot of people's behavior. Renaissance festivals started in the United States in like 1962, I believe. I watched a documentary film of the one in Marin County in 1967, and it was really lovely, and it was part of this kind of defiance of defiance of the soul-crushing nature of modern life. I discern a similar attitude or a similar yearning in the character of Napoleon Dynamite. In fact, here's somebody who quite clearly is longing for a life of meaning and of moment, consequence, aesthetics. It doesn't. The film doesn't lean too heavily into this. It alludes to it because a little goes a long way, but you see it in the way that he, draws things, in the way that he has these obsessions with. Pick that wig. It looks like a medieval warrior, or the martial arts, or all these things. The wish to be part of something that's, well, I guess I could say maybe enchanted, living a life that has more juice to it. Words really fail me when trying to capture this, and I can just kind of look around and see the way that people show up at these events and the way that they dress. And I'll say something about the way that people dress when they go to these fairs. There's a lot of silliness in the costumes. There's a lot of, dressing up in ways that have absolutely nothing to do with the historical Renaissance or Middle Ages. And inasmuch as the festival in Marriott Slaterville bills itself as a Renaissance and Fantasy Festival, and in fact I think it could do worse. I think it might as well just lean into, be more forthright about saying this is a fantasy festival. That's fine. I think hosting an event and saying this is a fantasy fair, fantasy festival, that's pretty honest, and that's fine. Because in the 1960s there was consciousness and interest in the historical Middle Ages, and there was somewhat similar to how when people would write fantastical fiction before, say, 1920s, and even in the roots of like the great establishment of the fantasy genre, people would draw on historical material as their point of reference. And so in the 1960s there was the point of reference of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, and kind of this concept of the commedia dell'arte, this sort of merrymaking. There was precedent. There were the movies that had come out. There was, for example, the Errol Flynn Robin Hood movie that I grew up watching. But there was kind of this point of reference in media that people could draw on to try to enact, to try to become somebody else, or try to, for just a few hours, live a different kind of life. And now there's a glut, there's a torrent of all kinds of fantasy fiction that people can draw on as reference points when they want to dress up and when they want to try to live a different life. So I think it's kind of a losing battle to try to hold these events to be strictly historically accurate, at least in the United States. Now, in Europe, they actually have a continuity going back to the Middle Ages. So there's that. Though, apparently in Europe, they're having a hard time keeping them historically accurate either. And so what am I doing? You know, I'm going to these and I'm feeling all smug and superior because I actually play medieval music unlike anybody else there. But that's my jam. That's what I love. I love that music, and not all music I play is from the Middle Ages or Renaissance. Some of it's more recent, some of it's folk tunes, some of it's my own compositions. Some of it's from ancient Greece. So there's that. It's an opportunity for people to go and become somebody else and kind of try out what it would be like to live a different life. The problem, and it's wonderful to see a lot of the ways that people dress up. And I look around and I think it's really sad that more of us don't dress more like this more of the time. Like what is really stopping us from wearing more picturesque and elegant clothing throughout our daily life? We're afraid of just not fitting in or being judged or something. We're maybe insecure. We care about what people think. You see, at the fairs, you walk around in your costume, and you can see this in so many people. They're walking around in their costume, and they've got their peripheral vision on high alert. Who sees me? Look at me. I'm walking. I just desperately want to be noticed. It's this addictive sort of compulsive behavior of making this performance, hoping that people will notice you. There's other ways that this deep insecurity manifests. There's like the frantic, antic behavior that comes up. Okay, so I think probably every fair has something like this. You know, you can pay to be arrested or be paraded through the fair, you know, with a placard and people yelling, shame, you know, your crime is being whatever, too silly or something. And so there's this again, sort of frantic irony, frantic beating the, you know, stirring up, wanting to elicit laughter and hilarity. And so you get the people, you know, affecting the comic English accents, and you know, people are, this person is shamed by order of the Queen, and you know, somebody comes out yelling, how dare you disrespect my Queen, and making just a big, hamming it up, big performance of the heightened voice, the heightened mannerisms. I've seen it there. I used to see it at the Life, the Universe, and Everything Symposium, you know, when I was on the committee in, I think it was probably the 2001 or 2002 symposium. I cringe at the memory of how I myself behaved, because I and some other people at the closing banquet, we got up and did silly little bits and, you know, quoted songs or something like that, or movies that I won't mention because I think we all know what they are. Though I will say, if you're going to do it, you might as well be consistent, and you might as well know what you're doing. There were a couple guys dressed like Spanish, like the Spanish Inquisition, essentially, like cardinals, right, at the gates leaving. And and I said to them, I didn't expect to see you guys here. Crickets. No response. How do you miss this? How do you dress up literally as the Spanish Inquisition and not pounce on the opportunity to say the line that we all know you say when you're dressed up as the Spanish Inquisition? What the hell? And then so one of them was like, you know, calling after people as they were leaving, you remember the Lord loves you. This irony, this everything has to be ironic. So it's interesting. This sweet old lady that I love, that has this little chapel. It's dismaying to me to see how many people go in and they are nervous and they have to like this church. Let's make this ironic, frantic, antic, hammy, about being in a church and roar, roar, roar. So you can't have somebody really relaxing into like an earnest engagement with the fun and the wonder of taking on a persona and a life of enchantment and of picturesque beauty. You have to, people have to put on this attitude. Let me sing you this funny song about funny things to make you laugh. Laugh, laugh, laugh. It is exceedingly tiresome to me how this goes. The mania, again, the frantic mania to try to elicit laughter, and just there's this fakeness. To me, it's a betrayal of the promise of what these events are supposed to offer. And that to me is deeply sad. Now, that doesn't mean I have to go along with it. It doesn't mean I have to go along with the stupid fake accents or the irony or the frantic antics. I go and I find a lot of enjoyment in seeing people, dressed in wondrous outfits, and that's fun, and I have a lot of joy in doing my music, and I don't ever want to stop. And so it gives me enough of that opportunity to do that. So I'll be at the Utah Ren Fest on May 25th, Memorial Day. I'm performing on the Peacock stage at noon and the Ranbalari stage at 2:30 and 5, if I remember correctly. And I hope to see you there, Liam, and your family. I really do hope. And I hope I'm not being too public about things. But for my part, anyway, I'm wanting people to come see me. The 5 people that are watching this probably. Maybe I'll even have some way of recording my performance or part of it that will actually work this time. That would be lovely, because that's something I've really missed out on and wished for, is to have some way of capturing my performance to present later. So I still believe in the promise and the potential of what these events offer, and I still engage, and I can't wait to go and play my music there again. So if things go well, I'll have some fruits of that, some record of that to share. So I'll talk to you later.